Today on the official Marvel podcast, we'll hear from Marvel's Deadpool VR lead designer Phil Therien and animation director Matt Schmitz on what players can look forward to in the game.
He kind of doesn't read the fine print on his contract all that well that he signs with Mojo, so he ends up going after a bunch of cool Marvel villains.
And Marvel Comics Editor Devin Lewis gives a spooky rundown on the new horror comics Spirits of Violence and Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts.
It's a collection of short stories by a number of different creators, starring any number of Marvel's amazing characters, and some of the most compelling and visceral stories that they can think of.
Plus, we'll dig into the comic book history of Johnny Blaze, a.k.a. Ghost Rider.
I'm Quinn Lamar.
I'm Raylo.
And this is the official Marvel podcast. Deadpool fans, it's time to buckle up for Marvel's Deadpool VR. Get ready to experience the Merc with a mouth like you've never seen him.
Yes, in first-person, fully immersive virtual reality. Fellow official Marvel podcast host Langston Belton got a chance to speak with Marvel's Deadpool VR lead designer Phil Therien and animation director Matt Schmitz from Twisted Pixel on what players can expect.
All right, I'm hanging out with two of the amazing minds from Twisted Pixel. Please welcome Marvel's Deadpool VR lead designer Phil Therien and animation director Matt Schmitz. Matt, Phil, how are you today?
Doing good.
Very good. Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. So set the stage for us. What is Marvel's Deadpool VR? What can players expect? And why is the time now perfect for a Deadpool-themed VR game?
So it's a first-person action game where we're mixing melee, range combat, and traversal together. Basically, Deadpool gets hired to go take over a shield helicarrier that's been taken over by Flag Smasher. In the middle of doing that, Deadpool ends up having run-ins with Mojo from Mojo World. He kind of doesn't read the fine print on his contract all that well that he signs with Mojo, so he ends up going after a bunch of cool Marvel villains. So really, it's a pretty huge game.
So Matt, the game starts very Deadpool. It begins with you guiding Deadpool's body to his decapitated head.
Right.
As the animation director, walk us through how VR is utilized throughout the game to tell this massive story you guys have created.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get to start with setting the perfect framing right there by having your head decapitated on a scientist table and controlling Deadpool's body. So we sort of introduce the player into the VR that way. We bring the body over to the head and he's able to reattach himself. But yeah, I mean, experiences like that, we tried to work into the game throughout where you just really get to feel things that only Deadpool could do that other characters wouldn't be able to do, like that. Or other examples might be you could have your limbs chopped off, dismembered, and use them actually as a weapon to hit other enemies with and things like that. In addition to that, what we've really got is Deadpool's dialogue, the Merc with the mouth. So while you're being a Merc and fighting through this game and encountering all these enemies, you've got the mouth of Deadpool spitting off his lines throughout the game and really kind of feel like you are Deadpool because you get that personality in addition to the combat.
One of the really fun things is that Deadpool knows he's inside a video game, right? And because he loves breaking the fourth wall, he'll talk to the player, he'll talk to the game developers. If he doesn't like how things are going, he'll absolutely voice it. And that's something we had a lot of fun with. But one of the things that's really cool with Deadpool, too, is that Deadpool regenerates, right? And that's something that we get to leverage in the game. We don't just have a typical health bar because Deadpool can lose limbs, but you can still keep going. And Deadpool can hurt himself pretty bad and still keep kicking. And that's actually part of how you solve things in the game. So one of the really fun things is once you get your head wrapped around who Deadpool is, some problems in the game you solve by being Deadpool, which means sometimes you're going to hurt yourself. But, that's Deadpool. And that's a really fun thing. Just because he takes a bunch of damage doesn't mean he stops.
Oh, I love it. Now, Neil Patrick Harris is voicing Deadpool in this game. Why did y'all feel Neil was the right person for your version of Deadpool? And what does he bring to the Deadpool character through his vocal performance that maybe we haven't heard from other performances, or maybe bringing in some elements of other performances that fans are looking forward to?
So for us, the idea was to find someone that would feel familiar, sound familiar, but also bring their own unique take on it. And we talked to Neil about it, and just listening to him do the lines and bring his own spin on some of the jokes, it was a great fit. It was obvious from the beginning that it was going to work out great. It's also like you have to consider that Deadpool is somebody that talks a lot, like sometimes too much, like gets in trouble. So you hear Deadpool a lot. So it has to be somebody that can be entertaining for hours on end, that can really like bring something that's interesting, that's fresh. And Neil does that. So for us, it's just match made in heaven.
That sounds awesome. And Matt, when you have a performer like Neil Patrick Harris, how much did his performance influence how Deadpool interacts with the world?
Yeah, his performance really played a huge role in the animation, the interactions, especially when it comes to boss fights, when you get back and forth banter between Neil and Mojo, for example, who's voiced by John Leguizamo. And so you get really, really interesting dynamics between such great cast. And so, yeah, we get to design the performances and the animations of these characters based on the voices of these really talented actors.
John Leguizamo voicing Mojo. That's like one of those combinations you didn't even know you wanted until you hear it. So, please tell us about John Leguizamo's Mojo and other Marvel characters that we might be meeting with throughout the game.
So Mojo's all about entertainment. He likes to entertain people. He wants to be entertained. He wants things to be bombastic. And it's a character that is a really interesting match with Deadpool. Deadpool is definitely not too happy about the way that he got swindled by Mojo, but at the same time, he kind of gets it. So Deadpool kind of gets into the whole showmanship aspect of what Mojo likes. And listening to Neil and John's lines, like kind of going back and forth about like, yeah, we're kind of opposites. Like you're kind of my enemy, but I get it. Like this is going to be a cool ass show. Like, it's stuff like that. They kind of get into it a little bit, but the personality that John brings like is really, really, really amazing.
Yeah, and Mojo's got such a strong personality as a character in the Marvel Universe, so it was really fun to design just his role in the game and how he kind of portrays himself.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of characters in the game. I mean, we've got Omega Red, we've got Lady Deathstrike. People are going to get to see Spiral. There are a lot of characters that, comic fans are super familiar with. Some of them were in movies also, but I think we're also touching on some places and characters that people are like, I remember this from the comics, but they haven't been in too many video games. So for us, that's really exciting to be able to explore that and put all that together with Deadpool.
Oh, you had me at Spiral. You kidding me? I love you guys. So again, you've been talking about being creative with the gameplay. Let's talk about Deadpool's arsenal. What other kind of weapons and actions can players expect to wield in the game that we haven't already talked about?
Combat was huge to us. It's something we've been dialing in from the very beginning of this game. So we wanted to make sure that the arsenal fit Deadpool, because Deadpool as a character loves to be creative with weapons. So yeah, I mean, we've got your standard guns and swords that Deadpool normally carries. But like we mentioned earlier, we've got a grapple gun that helps with traversal. But you can also use the grapple gun on enemies and things like that. So we tried to find as many ways that we could kind of come up with creative new weapons that Deadpool could grab.
Yeah, and building off of that, like when you're doing cool stuff in the game, we reward you for it. We have stylish points effectively that you can accumulate. And the more of those you do, there's a meter that's going to fill up on screen. That ties to progression in the game. Like you can get you buy upgrades and skins and stuff but the big thing is that when you fill up that meter, you get access to something we call marvelous weapons. Now, marvelous weapons is something that Mojo was like, I'm going to give you access to this because I want this to be really interesting. And it gives you access to some weapons that are going to look really familiar, but they're not exactly what you'd expect them to be. So, you might get access to a hammer that looks fit for a god. You might get some cards that maybe a certain Cajun person would find, very appealing. So you get stuff like that. That's also where Deadpool absolutely goes like fourfold. He's like, you know what? I'm going to get this weapon. This is going to be a great time. Let's cue some music. And then we have a bunch of really cool licensed tracks. And Deadpool absolutely loves to listen to music when he's kicking ass. So I think, you get those moments of give me my hammer, cue the music, and just go to town on bad guys.
Yeah, that's what's really fun. We get to balance the combat and the gruesome killing, but in a fun, stylish Deadpool way, where he's having a great time smiling the whole time through.
I like that. That's the full quote. Gruesome in a fun way, right? Well, before I let you guys go, what is your message to the fans that are really, really looking forward to this new way to experience one of the most beloved characters in the Marvel Universe?
With this game, I want everybody to jump in and just do whatever they want and have a good time with it. Like Phil likes to say, we say yes to the player in this game in as many ways that we can.
We're out November 18th, 2025 for MetaQuest 3 and 3S on the MetaQuest store. If you're a Deadpool fan, you're a Marvel fan, you're like, Should I get into VR for this game? Yes, you should. It's definitely made for newcomers as much as experts. We've got a full-on campaign. The game is meaty. It's fun. It's exciting. It's entertaining. It's really, really honest to what Deadpool is, and it's really entertaining. So I highly recommend people give it a shot.
Well, Phil, Matt, thank you so much for talking to us. It's really cool. It's just in time for my birthday, in fact. So
nice.
Please be sure to get Marvel's Deadpool VR coming out this November. Thanks for talking with us, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and happy early birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, it's October, and that means it's time to get into some scary comics. I'm ready to be scared silly.
Same. Langston Belton also got a chance to speak with Marvel Comics editor Devin Lewis about which of our favorite heroes are going to appear in Spirits of Violence in Marvel, Black, White, and Blood and Guts. Take a listen.
All right, we are excited to talk with Marvel Comics editor extraordinaire Devin Lewis. Devin, how are you, my friend? How are you feeling?
I'm doing all right, Langston. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm very excited to talk about something that is near and dear to, I think, a lot of Marvel fans in the crossovers there about spooky season, as it's known. So I want to talk about some of the awesome stuff that we have coming this Halloween season. And you've been editor of some fairly, let's say, gruesome comics like Venom and Carnage. So are you drawn to horror skewed content, even when it's not the Halloween season? What is your relationship with horror and also comic book horror?
It's true. I love a good scary story, especially in comics. There's nothing quite like reading a horror comic and feeling that sense of dread as it creeps over you panel by panel and page by page, knowing that there's nothing you can do to stop it, short of stopping reading. And who among us could stop reading an engrossing and scary comic book? Not me. The symbiotes definitely lend themselves pretty naturally to that sort of grisly, spooky story. I've always thought that considering their extraterrestrial origins, they should be a little bit feared or not even necessarily trusted. But the same can be said of so many of the characters in the Marvel U, many of whom I'm lucky enough to work on now, like Blade or Ghost Rider or the Punisher. These are visceral and intense characters, and I think it's fun to show them off that way.
Awesome. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the first book that we're going to be talking about, series, in fact, the delicately named Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts.
It just rolls off the tongue.
It does. So what can you tell us about this series and tell us what we have coming up with this newest installment of the series?
So each Black, White, and Blood series is an anthology, or in other words, it's a collection of short stories by a number of different creators starring any number of Marvel's amazing characters, and some of the most compelling and visceral stories that we can think up, or that they can think up, rather. And as you might guess from the name, each story is told in just 3 colors, black, white, and blood red.
So now we have a new 4-issue series coming up. So what can we expect from this issue? What characters might we expect to see? Don't spoil anything, of course. But who might we see? Might we see Blade? Might we see some other new characters to the horror genre?
The first thing you can expect are thrills and chills in the Mighty Marvel manner, of course. That's what the readers out there in Marveldom want, and so that's what we're going to deliver. We've got action and adventure. We've got collisions of characters, of fists, and possibly even smooches. No spoilers, of course. But whatever flavor readers are looking for, we're aiming to have something for them. But not without a warning, this particular series of Black, White, and Blood intends to live up to the "and guts" in its name. They're not for the faint of heart, so don't say we didn't warn you. Blade is, of course, all over this thing. Really, we were pretty excited about Blade. I only just started editing Blade as a character when I started working on Ghost Rider and Punisher, and I have a tremendous amount of affection for all of those vintage Blade comics from the 70s especially. And so we wanted to lean into the time of year, the spooky season, and give Blade as much spotlight as we could. So he's all over this thing, but one of our goals was also to feature some unexpected faces from Mighty Marveldom. These Black, White, and Bloods often focus on individual characters and explore single characters across the length of those anthologies. But we're also looking at characters like Thor, the Defenders, Doctor Strange is even getting in the mix on his own, Hitmonkey, who you would never expect, and even the Daily Bugle Sunday Funnies, which I've worked on for years now and love. We're getting those in on the fun, except in true Black, White, and Blood fashion, we've retitled them to the Sunday Scaries.
Nice. Now, you mentioned this is going to be an anthology series of various creators. Talk more about the creative team that you have working on this miniseries.
Pardon the pun, but we've got a literal murderer's row. Al Ewing, Kev Walker, G. Willow Wilson, Devmalia Promanik, Chris Condon, and Claire Rowe, and that's only in the first issue. Across the rest of the series, creators like Mark Waid, Jorge Fornes, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Alyssa Wong, Chris Allen, and Garth Ennis and John McCrae are all going to be lending their talents to the series. And that's not even the tip of the iceberg, Langston. No spoilers, but they're all incredible.
What else readers need to know, if anything, before diving into this series?
These anthologies are a great opportunity for people to be able to walk into their local comic shop and at least grab something fresh off the stands. There's no prior reading that you've got to do for these. We're trying to tell stories that'll include your favorite Marvel faces in scenarios you might not see them in an ongoing series. And so there's really no other homework to be done, but the only thing we'd recommend is that they keep their security blanket nearby, or at least their favorite Marvel or Spider-Man, stuffed animal, just in case they need a little emotional support, because they're probably going to need it.
We're going to move from one horror-esque to another amazingly titled book, The Spirits of Violence. This is another 5-issue series. What's this about?
So in the Marvel universe and in the Marvel pantheon, we all know about the Spirits of Vengeance, of course. I don't need to roll the chalkboard out and give a lesson. But at the end of the most recent Spirits of Vengeance series, we learned of the existence of a new spirit, a new entity called the Spirit of Violence. Now, longtime Ghost Rider readers know that there are a lot of spirits. There are spirits of corruption, there are spirits of vengeance, and there are spirits of violence. Now, how all of those are connected is something that we're going to explore in this series. And at the same time, we're going to go through Ghost Rider lore and history in a way that certainly excites me as a Ghost Rider fan. And I know how much Ghost Rider readers care about those classic Ghost Rider stories, just like we all care about our favorite classic stories. And Saber Prasada, the writer of this series, is one of those folks who's got a keen eye towards those vintage books. And he has plucked some of the coolest and most interesting and exciting elements from the Ghost Rider mythos and is bringing them to bear here.
Nice. So now give us the rundown of the roster of characters that we can expect to see. What characters are we now going to be associating with the Spirits of Violence?
Everybody knows the original two Ghost Riders, Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, but we're also bringing Kushala back into the mix. Newly introduced Helverine is going to be joining us. Robbie Reyes is finally returning to the Marvel Universe from the God Quarry. We're also bringing Phantasma, who, speaking of Robbie Reyes, appeared in his self-titled one-shot earlier this year, and she's just a terrific addition to the mythos. And of course, my personal favorite Ghost Rider, Vengeance, who is almost like Ghost Rider's own version of Venom, a dark mirror reflection, except he has giant tusks and a mohawk, so pretty cool. And he's also got a skull that's on fire, which is hard to beat.
What can you tell me about the Spirit of Violence as an entity and how it fits into the pantheon of spirits that we already have in the Marvel Universe?
One of the things I'm most excited about with Saber's take, and he's being joined by illustrator Paul Davidson, who's going to be able to lend his talents to every issue of the series, which is so rare. It's seeming like Paul is going to be able to draw over 100 pages of this book, if not every last one of them, which is just terrific. And the thing about violence is that we so often think about it in physical terms, but there's such a thing as emotional violence. Our characters are put through that a lot, whether it's Spider-Man trying to pick up the giant piece of machinery in the Master Planner's lair to save Aunt May, or any number of moments from Captain America's history coming out of the ice. There are an incredible number of ways that we can affect an intense change for our characters. And a lot of the times that deals with punching, but sometimes we got to punch people right in the heart. And no entity in the Marvel universe right now knows how to punch Johnny Blaze in the heart better than the Spirit of Violence. As readers who have read Spirits of Vengeance may or may not know, we've seen Barbara Ketch, Danny Ketch's sister, as the host of the Spirit. And so that's the sort of level of proximity and closeness to these families that you can expect. And Barbara may not be the only familiar face we see. So I would encourage folks to brace themselves for the ride of Johnny Blaze's life.
Before we go, tell folks where they can get their eyes on both of the series you talked about today, Spirits of Violence and the wonderfully titled Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts.
They can start by going to their comic shop in the first week of October to kick off spooky season, with Spirits of Violence going on sale on October 1st. And just 1 week later, Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts #1 hitting stands on October 8th.
Devin, thank you so much. Listen, I'm very excited for spooky season. Before I let you go, I got to ask you, what is your favorite Halloween candy? Do you have a costume picked out?
I think I'm going to have to go for Halloween as Ghost Rider. I think I'm going to rep some Spirits of Violence this year. I'm trying to convince my wife to go as Vengeance. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get her on board. Maybe Helverine. She's a big X fan, so maybe we'll be able to get her on side there. But if not, you can see me walking around as Ghost Rider, hopefully with a candy bucket full of Butterfingers. I think those are number one, and they get my vote.
Devin, thank you so much, and good luck, and please do not set your hair on fire.
I'll do my best not to, Langston. Stay spooky.
This time of year, we can expect plenty of stories centering around Marvel Comics' most Halloween-aligned characters. Witches, vampires, werewolves, and of course, skeletons.
Especially the kind that are covered in flames.
That's right, Ghost Rider. Now, there have been several Ghost Riders over the years, but one of the men most associated with the fiery skull Spirit of Vengeance is motorcycle stunt performer Johnny Blaze. Johnny was literally born into the stunt business. As the son of Daredevil stunt rider Barton Blaze, the first world baby Johnny ever knew was the nomadic existence of the traveling circus.
Alas, the carny life was not conducive to a healthy marriage, and Barton's wife, Naomi Cale, abandoned him, taking their children Barbara and Danny with her, but leaving little Johnny.
Naomi didn't want to be separated from Johnny, but was actually trying to protect him from a family curse. She figured if she could remove herself from her son's life, he wouldn't suffer. Spoiler alert, Johnny suffers plenty.
As a single dad, Barton relies on fellow members of the Quentin Carnival to help him raise Johnny. Then one day, in a stunt gone wrong, Barton tragically passes away. Enter Crash and Mona Simpson, fellow stunt drivers, who not only agree to raise Johnny, but teach him all their best motorcycle stunt tricks so he can follow in his father's footsteps.
Which, considering how his dad died, is actually a little messed up.
Perhaps, but they are very loving parents, and Johnny adores them. They're also good mentors, and as a young adult, Johnny becomes the Quentin Carnival's star attraction.
But tragedy strikes again. Crash Simpson is diagnosed with terminal cancer. Johnny is devastated, to the point that he turns to the occult in an attempt to save his beloved adopted father. He summons the demon Mephisto, the king of hell, and makes a deal with him. Johnny promises Mephisto his soul in exchange for curing Crash's cancer. The demon agrees, and poof, just like that, Crash is healthy again.
Okay, word of warning to you all out there. Deals with demons are never a good idea. If there's any possible loophole in the precise wording of that deal, the demon will find it. So do not sell your soul to them. We can't all be Johnny. Just don't.
Mere days after beating cancer, Crash gets back on his bike to rejoin the stunt show and dies in a horrible crash.
Okay, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Don't do it.
That might have been the end of Johnny Blaze right then and there, if not for Crash's daughter Roxanne, who shows up just as Mephisto is about to claim his soul. Roxanne declares her love for Johnny, and that's enough to repel the demon.
Okay, wait, that's sweet. Well, maybe we should have done this story for Valentine's Day.
Well, Mephisto might not have been able to take Johnny straight to hell, but he wasn't about to leave empty-handed. Instead, he bonded Johnny's soul to that of another demon named Zarathos. From this point on, whenever Johnny Blaze encounters injustice, Zarathos takes over and Johnny transforms into the Ghost Rider, a skeletal being bathed in mystical hellfire who exists to save the innocent and punish the guilty.
Ghost Rider, who is also known as the Spirit of Vengeance, wields a powerful magical chain whip, also enveloped in hellfire, and he can turbocharge any vehicle with hellfire, allowing it to perform gravity-defying feats like riding straight up walls. And if there's no vehicle nearby, Ghost Rider can even conjure a new vehicle composed completely of hellfire. Obviously, yes, there's a lot of hellfire.
Basically anything that can be done with hellfire, he can do it.
Sure, you know how it goes with hellfire.
But his most powerful weapon is his penance stare. Ghost Rider gazes into the soul of an evildoer and causes them to relive all the harm they've ever caused others. The more evil acts a person has performed, the more devastating the penance stare will be for them. It can even leave a person catatonic.
Okay, so you might be thinking, wait, the Demon King Mephisto can't take Johnny's soul outright, so instead he makes him into a superhero? What's that about? Well, remember that Zarathos is still a demon too. He just happens to be a demon that hates evil. Ironic, I know. He finds evildoers wherever they are, exacts vengeance upon them, and then sends their wicked souls straight to hell. Now, due to an old, well, very old beef between these rival demons, Zarathos hates Mephisto. But as far as Mephisto is concerned, Zarathos is just good for business. There's no better soul farmer out there.
And Johnny's not exactly happy about this arrangement either. He can't even dream of living a normal life while sharing his body with the spirit of vengeance. He's forced back into a nomadic existence, but this time a lonely one. He wanders the highways on his blazing bike, putting it into mystical menaces and demonic dangers. Eventually, after many years, it's Zarathos who manages to break the bond that Mephisto placed on them.
Finally free, Johnny marries Roxanne and tries to live the normal life he's always wanted. That's when he learns that his brother, Danny, from who he'd been separated in childhood, has become the new Ghost Rider.
Now, I'm sure you're thinking, how? Why? Believe me when I say that Danny's story is a whole different deep dive, my friends.
Feeling somewhat responsible, Johnny tries to help Danny adjust to his new role as Spirit of Vengeance, even teaming up with the new Ghost Rider, fighting off evil with a Hellfire shotgun. He comes to learn, however, that Zarathos is not connected to Danny at all. This new Ghost Rider is fueled by another demon entirely.
So where is Zarathos? He's actually been hiding out inside Johnny all along, and he finally decides to reassert himself, turning Johnny into a Ghost Rider once more. Mephisto is no longer pulling the strings, but Zarathos has decided he likes Johnny and wants the two of them to continue as a team, whether Johnny wants to or not.
And he does not, especially when Roxanne gets killed by a demon targeting Johnny. The loss of his wife sends Johnny on a vengeance-fueled spree in which he kills everyone involved in Roxanne's death.
He always had been a bit of a hothead, but in this case, it's understandable. Hothead, you get it? Because his head is like, it's a flame that's gold.
I get it, Quinn. Okay, shall we move on?
Okay.
These days, Johnny seems resigned to the idea that he and Zarathos will be forever intertwined. He's back to roaming the backroads, punishing evil wherever he finds it. He occasionally even teams up with his brother for some double Ghost Rider action. But that normal life is something he will probably always continue to long for. And will he ever find it?
That is the burning question.
Without a doubt, one of the MCU's spookiest shows is Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. The series follows Agatha Harkness, a witch on a quest to regain her lost magic. Agatha gathers a coven to travel the mythic Witch's Road in an effort to restore her powers. The coven soon learns that the road is filled with many trials, each tailored to a specific witch's abilities and inner demons, sometimes literally. In episode 3, the first trial has Potions witch Jennifer Kale racing against the clock to create an antidote to a poison that the coven has accidentally consumed. She's beginning to doubt herself, running out of time to save her fellow witches from grim death. With Jen on the brink of what feels like failure, the usually snarky Agatha Harkness steps forward with some surprisingly encouraging words.
I have always hated you. If this is a pep talk, but I left you alone. Because what you were doing was important. Not this Kale care crap, the real work. You can be that witch again. They can take your power, Jen, but they can't take your knowledge.
Agatha All Along is now streaming only on Disney+.
Next week on the Official Marvel Podcast, we're diving into the history of the superpowered undead with Marvel Zombies comics editor Ralph Macchio.
And issues 21 to 23 of Ultimate Fantastic Four. introduced the Marvel Zombies concept, never knowing that it was going to become a gigantic phenomenon that was going to go on for years and continue right until this very day.
That's it for this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps other Marvel fans find the show.
Yes, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode.
This episode was hosted by Quinn Lamar and myself, Ray Lowe, with Langston Belton.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores, with additional writing from Christopher Healy.
With help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Justin Harris.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.